Democratic lawmakers are now trying to pass several stimulus relief bills in order to help President Biden gain some more support. Now, his approval ratings continue to drop, but Chuck Schumer is now debating on whether they should use the budget reconciliation process to get more stimulus bills passed as soon as this week. Now, President Biden has also released a new tax proposal that would increase taxes for some of the richest Americans. The proposal comes as the administration begins to consider what funds will be needed for the next fiscal year to continue working on President Biden's agenda, which has stalled significantly. And the war overseas has derailed discussions on domestic policy and inflation caused by corporate profiteering and continued supply chain disruptions from the crisis. Should the Build Back Better Act be able to become law? Well, the budget put forth by the White House would give the United States the highest top tax rates on individual and corporate income in the developed world. This is according to the Tax Foundation, which also reported the budget would increase the corporate tax rate from 21 to 28%, which the administration estimates would raise $1.3 trillion over 10 years. When the budget was released, the White House released a fact sheet that said changes were necessary to ensure that wealthy people pay the taxes they already owe. On the campaign trail, President Biden also made a promise to not increase any taxes on any households making less than $400,000 a year, and the proposal would make good on this promise. It is likely that this new plan will pass without any Republican support. It's important to remember that Democrats have just 50 votes in the Senate. The budget reconciliation process allows them to avoid Republican opposition and approve a bill with a simple majority vote, with Kamala Harris there to break the tie. Mitch McConnell also vowed today that Republicans will make sure that President Biden is a moderate if they retake Congress in the midterm elections later this year. During an interview, McConnell said, "Our agenda next year, if we're fortunate to be in a majority, will be focused on exactly what you and I have been talking about."
Madam President, day after day, here on the floor of the Senate and back in their states, many of my colleagues talk to the American people about how deeply concerned they are about the deficit and the national debt. They tell us that we just don't have enough money to expand Medicare, to cover dental care for seniors, to cover hearing aids, to cover eyeglasses. We just don't have enough money to do what every other major country on earth does, and that is guaranteed paid family and medical leave. At a time when hundreds of thousands of bright young people are unable to afford a higher education and millions are struggling with student debt, my colleagues tell us that we just don't have enough money to provide 2 years of free tuition at community colleges. When we have over 500,000 Americans sleeping out on the streets, including a few blocks away from the nation's capital, we just don't have enough money to build the low-income and affordable housing this country needs. And at a time when the scientists are telling us that we face an existential threat in terms of climate change, we are told that we just don't have enough money to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel and create a planet that will be healthy and habitable for our kids and future generations. Just don't have enough money. Yet today, the U.S. Senate will begin consideration of an annual defense budget that costs $778 billion. $778 billion for 1 year. And that is $37 billion more than President Trump's last defense budget, and $25 billion more than what President Biden requested. And by the way, all of this money is going to an agency, the Department of Defense, that continues to have massive cost overruns year after year, wasting enormous amounts of money, and is the only major governmental agency.
Education and beefing up the defense of the country. Senate Republicans are also now vowing to push President Biden toward the center if they win back the majority in November, setting the stage for possibly high-profile clashes next year. Republicans are feeling optimistic about their chances in November as President Biden has struggled to get a boost in the polls, even as Senate Republicans navigate primary election obstacles of their own. The GOP message, everybody, is an early warning sign of the potential gridlock and headaches that President Biden can face in the second half of his term, particularly if Democrats lose both the House of Representatives and Senate. Democrats are growing increasingly worried about President Biden's standing in the polls. 7 months out from the midterm elections, Biden has not seen a boost in his approval ratings amid the world crisis, despite support among Americans for the steps that he has taken. While the economy continues to gain jobs and the unemployment rate is low, something Biden touted on Friday, inflation is at a 40-year high and gas prices are through the roof. Now, Democrats for months have feared that they will lose the House of Representatives majority this fall, and they are worried about losing the Senate too, with polls showing Biden performing poorly in key states. One expert told The Hill, "It's bad, you have an energy crisis that's paralyzing, and inflation is at a 40-year high." Now the news from the job market on Friday was that the United States economy added 431,000 jobs in March, more signs of a strong economy. Yet those figures have not translated into a boost for President Biden. What are your thoughts on the fourth stimulus check? Can President Biden get the job done this year? Tell me what you think in the comments down below.
Will be recognized as a great landmark in the struggle of mankind for peace. Never before has such a record been written, and men will read it for 1,000 years in amazement and wonder.
You know, in this country, we should not have many, many millions of seniors who have no teeth in their mouths or become sick because they cannot adequately digest their food. That is not acceptable. We cannot continue to have God knows how many seniors who are unable to communicate and listen to their grandchildren or their friends because they can't afford the outrageous cost of hearing aids.
There's some good news in Congress about the fourth stimulus check. Developments are being made on the fourth stimulus package for Social Security recipients, and Chuck Schumer just announced his new strategy to get these bills passed through Congress, without Republican support, that is. But first, remember everybody that my goal of this channel is to provide you with the most up-to-date and reliable stimulus check information all the time. I always want to do my very best in helping you folks out with stimulus check information, because I know many of you guys are in need of financial assistance. And I do support the fourth stimulus check. If you do support a fourth stimulus check, get this video to 1,000 likes. Extra financial support for seniors is coming soon for all senior citizens in 2022. This is all because of the recent surge in the crisis. And inflation has definitely been hurting some communities very hard as the crisis only evolves. This is even despite the fact that over 169 million payments have been sent out in the third round of checks. The good news is that there is a continued push for a targeted fourth one. The new surge in the crisis had lawmakers very worried.